unfortunately, we can't do a virtual wine tasting, so since we're doing this online, you won't get to taste it, but let's talk about tasting wines and how to do it properly. Tasting wine as opposed to just drinking wine adds an extra dimension to the basic routine of eating and drinking, turns obligation, well, they gave me a glass of wine, I gotta drink it, into a pleasure. So when you do the wine tours, as I just did in Napa and Sonoma, California, they show you how to properly taste wine with the various parts of your mouth, the tongue, the tip of the tongue, the back of the tongue, etc. As they told us on the wine tour, keep it simple. Don't intimidate people with all the fancy names. It's woody, it's oaky, it's earthy, it's coffee, whatever. You know, just drink it. You'll like it. You'll like the taste of it. Keep in mind some basic rules, though. Serve lighter wines before. There's four steps in proper tasting. It helps you to really. This is the fancy stuff, right? This is not just take a slug and I like that. But this is if you want to do a more upscale tasting. So you would first look at the wine. Put a white napkin underneath the glass. Turn the glass on its side, and try to and look through the wine with. So step one was looking at the wine. Swirl the glass. You can either hold it in your hand and swirl it. That's a little bit dangerous. You can tend to wear it, or you can put it on the table and swirl it around in circles. Swirl the wine in a glass and notice how quickly or slowly the wine filters down the sides of the glass after it has stopped moving. So once you, no matter whether you're holding it up or putting it on the table, you're then going to hold it up at eye level so you can see the streaks coming down the side, which indicates the alcohol and sugar content. So didn't mention on the last slide, so rather than redo that one, I'll mention it here, that if you don't have a clean glass, that will affect the legs, and also, I suppose, could affect, depending on what's on the glass, could affect the smell if there's soap on there, for example. So smelling the wine is probably the most important sensory perspective that you have. You're going to get your nose right in there, so you're going to do some more swirling of the wine and get the flavors released, and then you're going to stick your nose in there and see what you can detect. See if you can smell the strawberry, the raspberry, whatever the description of the wine says. I can't usually smell all that stuff, but if you're sophisticated in it and if someone has taught you, they the process of tasting the wine, you place approximately a half ounce of wine in your mouth. You suck it in order to aerate and open the wine's aromas and flavors. So suck it. So when you see people do that, they're not being gross. That's the way you're supposed to taste the wine. I personally don't like that, but it does bring out all the flavors for sure. I don't necessarily want to taste them, but that's how you get all those flavors in there, and you can tell the boysenberry from the grape and from the apple and whatever, because it aerates, it opens it up. Swish the the temperature for serving wine. White wine served very cold gives a taste impression that is less sweet and fruity and more acidic and astringent than the same wine at a warmer temperature. Red wine served too warm yields more perception of alcohol than the same wine. Proper serving temperatures. Although we typically hear that red wine should be served at room temperature, there's lots of room. There's rooms in Key West, Florida, and there's rooms in Nome, Alaska. So you can't just say room temperature, but that's what everybody says and everybody thinks, and even people in the wine business, not in the wine business, but people that are serving wines in a restaurant that are dumbasses. Excuse me. Oh yeah, it's supposed to be room temperature. No, we're in Fort Lauderdale. It's 100 degrees out. Red wine should be 55 to 65, which is a cool wine, a cool room in Europe where all this started. So a German, that's like a German or a French um, cellar. 55 to 65 is the proper serving temperature for red wine. I used to carry a little piece of paper in my wallet to give to these snooter waiters who wondered why my wife was putting ice in the 85-degree wine. White wine should be 45 to 55 degrees. And sparkling wine or champagne should be 40 to 45 degrees. A wine described as zesty, bright, crisp, fresh would most likely be somewhat acidic. So you think of a zesty dressing, a zesty tomato sauce. How dry I am. A wine described as dry, obviously it's wet, right? But described as dry means there's no perceptible sugar. So dry means not sweet. A dry wine would be one that is not sweet. Enology, what is that fancy word? That means the science of making wine in the winery. That's called enology. The science of making wine in the winery. In other words, not growing it in the field, but there's about 20 different species of grapevines, but only one of them, Vitis vinifera, produces most of the grapes used in high quality wine. So remember, Vitis vinifera is a species of grapevine. The Big Six grapes. The Big Six grapes are adaptable, produced around the world, and those would include Cabernet Sauvignon, Chardonnay, Merlot, Pinot Noir, Riesling, and Sauvignon Blanc. The body of wine. Most people have tasted milk and cream, so that's a good comparison you can understand. When wine tasters say light or thin body, they usually mean something very watery, like skim milk, 1%, 2%. There's a bit of substance there. You're drinking wine, after all, not water, but it's very light. Drinking milk, but it's very light. What gives wine its body? Large berries, the level of alcohol, how much alcohol is in there, the residual sugar yields, how much sugar is retained, the extracts that from, for example, the skin, and the oak aging process is very big in the wines. They burn those wines over flames, and that adds to the flavor and body of a wine.